You may already have enough money to buy a business, and you may even be planning to do it sometime in the future. But building a business from scratch means spending years creating a name, hiring employees, and solving all kinds of problems. You may want to avoid all of that and buy a business that is already running successfully, but that is exactly where the problem begins. Because not every business for sale is worth buying. In this video, we are going to rank several businesses by tier, based on the experience of successful business owners and real research-backed information. By the end, you will understand which businesses may have a million-dollar opportunity hidden inside them, and which familiar business could eventually drain your bank account. We are starting with the riskiest business on the list, e-commerce. E-commerce brands are often presented as the easiest shortcut, but the reality can be completely different. The website is already running, customers already exist, and the revenue screenshots may look impressive. From the outside, it seems like all the hard work has already been done. But those numbers may be telling you last year's story, not what is happening today. The product may have been riding a trend that is already starting to fade, or the entire business may depend on paid advertising. As long as ad costs stay low, the profit looks good. But if the algorithm changes, advertising costs rise, or competition increases, that profit can disappear very quickly. And you are not just buying a website, you are also buying the inventory, the risk of returns, the dependence on overseas suppliers, shipping delays, and a business that may get most of its traffic from a single platform. The seller may show you strong historical revenue, while quietly knowing that demand has already started to fall. That does not mean every e-commerce business is bad. If a brand has loyal customers, strong profit margins, unique products, and several reliable sales channels, it can still be valuable. The real problem is buying a marketing-driven brand with no lasting competitive advantage of its own. My verdict, F tier. Visible revenue is not everything. If the business has no durable strength that can keep it alive in the future, it can quickly turn into a very expensive mistake. But on the other hand, if you are serious about making money, a grease trap and septic service business may be a much better option. The jobs most people want to avoid are often the ones with the least competition. This business is a perfect example. Very few people are excited about dealing with waste, bad smells, or blocked systems. But restaurants, homes, and commercial property owners cannot simply ignore these problems. Grease traps need to be cleaned regularly, and septic systems need to be pumped and maintained before they fail. Once a problem starts, customers do not wait for weeks. They want someone who can show up quickly, solve the problem, and help make sure it does not happen again. Buying an existing company can give you things that may take years to build from scratch. You may already have scheduled service routes, repeat customers, experienced employees, trucks, equipment, and a service calendar that produces recurring revenue. The best way to grow this business is to add more customers in the same area. That reduces travel time and allows each truck to complete more jobs in a day. From there, you can add another vehicle, another crew, and expand into nearby areas. Of course, the disadvantages are obvious. This is dirty work. The equipment can be expensive, waste has to be handled properly, and keeping skilled employees is not always easy. One small safety mistake can also become very costly very quickly. My verdict? S tier. The work may not be attractive, but it is always necessary, has recurring demand, and can be scaled locally. With strong routes and good management, it can become an extremely valuable service business. The next business does not sell products. It sells trust. And once that trust is built, it can continue producing income for years. First, try selling commercial insurance to 100 businesses. You may spend months making calls, following up, and trying to earn their trust. Now compare that with buying an insurance agency, where those same 100 businesses have been renewing their policies for years. The most valuable asset in this business is not the office, the furniture, expensive equipment, or even the brand name. The real asset is the customer relationships that have been built over many years. That trust takes time to create, and when a business is happy with its coverage and service, it usually does not go looking for a new agency every year. Revenue comes from selling new policies, but it also comes from regular renewals. That gives the business a strong recurring revenue base from the beginning. However, there are several things you need to check carefully before buying. Many agencies depend heavily on one licensed producer, one key employee, or the personal relationships of the current owner. If that person leaves, some of the clients may leave with them. A few large accounts can also make the business look much safer than it really is, if they are responsible for a large share of the revenue. You also need to make sure the required licenses, relationships with insurance carriers, and customer accounts can be transferred smoothly to the new owner. In this business, revenue matters, but customer retention matters even more. My verdict: A tier. Physical overhead is low, recurring revenue is strong, and a valuable customer base already exists. But here is the warning. Do not buy the business until you are confident that those relationships and that trust will survive the change in ownership. In some businesses, the hardest part is not providing the service. It is building a customer base that comes back every month. That is where the real opportunity in a bookkeeping business lies. Every business needs clean records, monthly reports, payroll management, and financial support to stay compliant. When you buy an established bookkeeping or accounting firm, you are not just buying accounting work. You are getting years of trust, recurring monthly work, trained employees, and a client list that would take a long time to build from scratch. AI can make this business more efficient, but it is not a replacement for an experienced accountant. Its real strength is organizing documents, completing repetitive tasks faster, identifying missing information, and helping the same team serve more clients. However, introducing new software too quickly without the right experience can disrupt the workflow. So when possible, keep the previous owner involved for a while, document the entire process, and introduce AI gradually. The biggest risk in this business is trust. A tax-related mistake, a missed deadline, or a messy ownership transition can cause clients to leave very quickly. My verdict: A tier. The operating costs are relatively low, the monthly work is recurring, and using AI properly creates real room for expansion. There is another business that looks much easier on the internet than it really is. And that misunderstanding has cost a lot of people a lot of money. Buy a few machines, then make money while you sleep. That is how laundromats are often promoted. And when you hear it, the whole business sounds almost unbelievably simple. An established laundromat already has customers, generates weekly revenue, and people are already used to coming there on a regular basis. So what's the problem? There is one. A lot can be hidden behind the numbers you are shown. Those older machines may still be making money today, but they can also turn into a major expense at any moment. Add in water, electricity, rent, repairs, and equipment replacement, and the real cash flow may look very different from what the seller is showing you. Now imagine buying a laundromat that looks highly profitable on paper. Then, just 1 month after closing the deal, 4 machines break down. Suddenly, what looked like passive income now demands cash, technicians, and your own time just to keep the business running. With a great location and relatively new machines, this business can absolutely work. Customers come back, demand stays steady, and the model is easy to understand. But this is not a machine that prints money on its own. Someone still has to keep the equipment running, keep the facility clean, and control the operating costs. My verdict: C tier. You can absolutely make money here, but you need to buy the right location, the right equipment, and real cash flow, not just a dream. Most importantly, you need a clear understanding of the condition of the machines and how strong the location really is. Now imagine the walk-in cooler at a restaurant suddenly stops working. The owner cannot wait until next week. Food starts spoiling, inventory is at risk, and every hour matters. That is exactly why commercial refrigeration is such a powerful service business. It becomes most valuable when every minute matters to someone else. And those urgent moments are what make this business far more profitable than an ordinary service company. Revenue does not come from just one source. There are emergency repairs, scheduled maintenance, equipment replacements, and long-term service contracts with restaurants, grocery stores, and other commercial businesses. If you become the company they trust when something goes wrong, You also gain strong pricing power, because at that point, your customers are not paying you just to fix a machine. They are paying you to avoid an even bigger loss. The biggest challenge is running the business itself. You need skilled technicians, a system that can dispatch jobs quickly, the right parts ready to go, and people who are willing to answer calls at night, on weekends, and during holidays. A slow response can cost your customer thousands of dollars. And one bad service experience may be enough to lose that customer for good. That is why you should never buy this business based only on impressive revenue. Make sure the current technicians are staying, understand how much the business depends on the current owner, and confirm that the maintenance contracts will remain in place after the ownership changes. My verdict? B+ tier. Demand is strong, and customer relationships can last for years. But without a skilled technical team and solid operations, this business can quickly become overwhelming. You have probably never dreamed of owning a pallet repair business, and that is exactly what makes it so interesting. While everyone else is chasing trendy businesses, this boring business keeps quietly making money year after year. Very few people grow up saying, "One day, I want to own a pallet repair company." And that is exactly why it can be such an attractive opportunity. Warehouses, factories, and transportation companies use pallets every single day. Over time, those pallets get damaged, lost, or become unusable. The business is simple. Collect used pallets, repair the ones that can be fixed, and sell them back into the local supply chain. The biggest strength of this business is its customer base. Once you build a good relationship with a warehouse or distributor, they usually do not look for a new supplier every week. They need usable pallets on a regular basis, and that can turn into recurring orders for years. Another advantage is that this market is usually made up of many small local operators, rather than being controlled by one giant company. But this is not just a business of stacking wood and collecting money. You need trucks, space, employees, and a reliable system for collecting enough pallets. Every route has to be profitable. If your customers are spread too far apart, transportation costs can eat up a large portion of your profits. And if you cannot consistently collect enough pallets, the entire operation becomes inefficient. My verdict: B+ tier. It can become a stable, local, and surprisingly valuable business. But while it looks simple from the outside, running it successfully is much harder than most people think. An established brand name, a proven system, and an existing customer base can make a franchise look like the easiest path to success. But in reality, you are not just buying a business, you are also buying its rules. The biggest attraction of a franchise is that most of the difficult work seems to have already been done. The brand is already known, the training is in place, the system has been tested, and customers already recognize the name. On paper, it can feel like buying a business that comes with an instruction manual. But that convenience comes with conditions. You usually pay an upfront franchise fee, followed by ongoing royalties. In many cases, you may be required to buy products from approved suppliers, even though you have no control over the prices. There may also be restrictions on where you can operate, how you can market the business, and even who you can sell it to in the future. The biggest issue is that the system is never completely yours, and that can lead to serious losses later. Now imagine two buyers. One sees a well-known logo, signs the agreement, and only starts learning the business after spending the money. The other works inside the same franchise for 3 years, learns the costs, staffing challenges, and local market, and only then decides to buy. Same brand, completely different level of risk. If you have real experience and secure a strong territory, a franchise can change your life. But if you buy without understanding how it works, it can wipe out your savings and destroy the dream you started with. My verdict: C tier. For an experienced operator, it could be A tier, but for a beginner, it can fall all the way to F tier. Now let's talk about the business that is truly the strongest on this list, and one I have mentioned many times in my other videos. Most businesses only make money when new customers come in, but some businesses have customers who return not because they want to, but because regulations require them to. And when the law becomes your biggest salesperson, the foundation of the business becomes much stronger. A building owner cannot simply ignore fire and backflow inspections for years. Fire extinguishers, alarm systems, fire suppression equipment, and backflow prevention devices all need to be inspected on a regular schedule. That means the revenue does not depend only on emergencies. A large portion of it also comes from recurring inspections, compliance work, and service contracts that renew again and again. When you buy an established company in this space, the real value is not just the equipment inside the van. The real value is the inspection schedule, the existing contracts, the trained technicians, and the relationships with property managers, restaurants, warehouses, and local businesses. Those customers already know when their next inspection is due, so you do not have to create demand from scratch. But the responsibility is also much greater. If an inspection is missed, paperwork is filed incorrectly, or an unqualified technician is used, the client could run into problems with insurance, fines, or permission to keep operating. That is why you need the proper certifications, accurate records, and employees who truly understand what they are inspecting. If the systems are strong, the business can be scaled by adding more technicians, creating new routes, and expanding into nearby areas. If you buy an established business at the right price, run it well, and expand it into multiple markets, this kind of business could make you the owner of $1 million company. My verdict, S tier. This is the strongest business on the entire list, and if you want, you can even start exploring this kind of business right now. Remember, buying a good business is not just about buying revenue. You are also buying customers, employees, established systems, recurring demand, and a foundation that may have taken years to build from scratch. But do not assume a business is good just because it is boring. Before investing, make sure you check the cash flow, hidden costs, customer retention, and whether the business can continue operating the same way after the current owner leaves. Now tell me, which business on this list would you be most interested in buying? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe.